Men, humor reveals truth that direct conversation hides. When a woman makes a joke on a first date, most men laugh it off, move on, and think nothing of it. But jokes aren't random. They're windows into her actual thoughts, values, and patterns that she's testing whether you'll accept or challenge. Before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit hype to boost this episode. Drop a comment below with your city or country. I'm always curious where viewers are joining from. Joke 1. I'm kind of crazy, or I'm a lot to handle. When she laughs and says something like, just so you know, I'm kind of crazy, or fair warning, I'm a lot to handle, or my friends say I'm intense. Most men hear this as playful self-deprecation or quirky personality description. It's actually a direct warning that she knows she has problematic patterns and she's testing whether you'll accept them as unchangeable personality traits rather than behaviors she should work on. What this actually reveals? This reveals she's aware she has difficult behavioral patterns but has reframed them as unchangeable personality quirks rather than taking responsibility for working on them. Women who joke about being crazy, difficult, or a lot to handle are telling you that dramatic behavior, emotional instability, or unreasonable demands are coming, and she's pre-excusing them by framing them as just part of her personality you'll need to accept. Notice the exact words she uses. If she says crazy, she's referring to emotional volatility, irrational reactions, or dramatic episodes. If she says a lot to handle, she's referring to high maintenance needs, demanding behavior, or exhausting emotional labor requirements. If she says intense, she's referring to overwhelming emotions, extreme reactions, or inability to regulate responses proportionally. The specific terminology reveals the specific problem area. Watch whether she frames this as a warning or a boast. If she seems almost proud of being crazy or a lot, she's romanticized her problematic patterns as evidence of passion or authenticity rather than recognizing them as issues. If she seems apologetic or self-aware, she at least recognizes it's a problem, though she's still not taking responsibility for changing it by making it a joke. Pay attention to whether she provides examples or leaves it vague. If she jokes about being crazy without explaining what that means, she's being deliberately unclear because the reality is worse than the joke suggests. If she provides specific examples that seem minor, she's downplaying the severity. Either way, the joke is minimizing something significant she knows about herself. Observe how she expects you to respond. If she's watching carefully to see if you laugh, seem concerned, or push back, she's testing your boundaries. Your response tells her whether you'll accept problematic behavior as personality, or whether you have standards for how you expect to be treated. Most men laugh along, which confirms she can behave badly and call it personality. Notice if this comes up early in the date. Women who lead with "I'm crazy" warnings are either trying to be provocative and interesting by claiming dramatic qualities, or they're genuinely warning you because past partners have told them their behavior is unacceptable. Either way, believe the warning. When someone tells you who they are, even as a joke, they're telling the truth. Why this is dangerous? This joke is dangerous because it establishes that problematic behavior is just her personality that you'll need to accept, rather than behavior she should modify in a healthy relationship. It creates a framework where future dramatic episodes, emotional outbursts, or unreasonable demands get excused with, "I told you I was crazy," rather than being addressed as legitimate relationship problems. Joke 2. My ex was so, negative trait, followed by laughter. When she makes jokes about how terrible her ex was. My ex was completely useless. My last partner couldn't do anything right. All my exes were disasters. And laughs while saying it. Most men hear this as her being over the relationship or having a sense of humor about past experiences. It's actually revealing that she villainizes past partners, takes no accountability for her role in relationship failures, and will absolutely talk about you the same way to her next date. What this actually reveals. This reveals she processes relationship endings by casting herself as the victim and her exes as villains. Women who joke about how terrible their exes were aren't demonstrating they're over those relationships. They're demonstrating they can't take responsibility for their contribution to relationship problems. When your relationship eventually has issues or ends, she'll tell the same jokes about you being terrible, useless, or a disaster. Notice how she describes the ex. If every negative trait is about what he lacked or failed to provide, he wasn't ambitious enough, didn't make enough money, wasn't attentive enough, couldn't satisfy her, she's revealing she evaluates partners entirely based on what they provide to her rather than mutual compatibility. You're being evaluated the same way right now. Watch whether there's any acknowledgement of her role in the relationship failure. If the jokes are entirely about his deficiencies, with zero reflection on what she could have done differently, she lacks the self-awareness and accountability necessary for healthy relationships. Mature people can say, "We weren't compatible," or "I made mistakes too." Immature people make their ex the punchline. Pay attention to whether she seems to enjoy talking negatively about exes. If there's pleasure or satisfaction in recounting how bad he was, she gets validation from victim narratives and superiority over past partners. This predicts she'll create drama in your relationship because conflict and grievance give her a sense of righteousness she enjoys. Observe if she makes these jokes to bond with you over shared disdain for her ex. If she's trying to create intimacy by inviting you to judge her past partner with her, she's showing you that she bonds through negativity rather than positive connection. Relationships built on shared contempt for others are toxic foundations. Notice the frequency of ex mentions disguised as jokes. One passing reference might be normal conversation. Multiple jokes throughout the date that reference past partners reveal she's not actually over those relationships emotionally, or she defines herself significantly through her romantic history rather than her own independent identity. Why this is dangerous. This joke is dangerous because it reveals a pattern of blame shifting and inability to process relationship failures maturely. You're watching a preview of how she'll describe you to her friends, family, and future dates when things go wrong. Her jokes about exes are your future if you pursue a relationship with her. Joke 3. I definitely have a shopping problem, or similar spending jokes. When she jokes about having a shopping addiction, being terrible with money, or needing retail therapy, most men laugh along thinking she's being charmingly honest about enjoying shopping. It's actually a warning that she has poor financial discipline, impulsive spending habits, and will expect you to either fund her lifestyle or accept that money will constantly disappear on unnecessary purchases. What this actually reveals. This reveals she knows she has problematic spending patterns but has reframed financial irresponsibility as a cute personality quirk. Women who joke about shopping problems, being bad with money, or needing retail therapy are telling you they lack financial self-control and don't view this as something they need to fix. They've normalized impulsive spending as just part of who they are. Notice whether she frames spending as emotional regulation. If she mentions retail therapy or shopping when stressed, sad, or bored, she's using purchases as a coping mechanism for uncomfortable emotions. This predicts she'll continue using spending to manage feelings rather than developing healthy emotional regulation, which creates financial instability in relationships. Watch whether she seems proud or embarrassed about the spending problem. If she jokes about it proudly, or presents it as evidence she knows what she likes and isn't afraid to get it, she's romanticized financial irresponsibility as confidence or self-care. If she seems embarrassed but still makes the joke, she's aware it's a problem but hasn't taken action to change it. Pay attention to what she jokes about buying. If it's expensive designer items, frequent vacations, or luxury goods, She has champagne taste regardless of her budget and will expect a lifestyle beyond her means. If it's constant small purchases, she has impulse control issues where small spending adds up to significant financial drain. Either pattern creates money problems. Observe if she mentions debt alongside spending jokes. Some women will joke about credit card debt or owing money while laughing about shopping, which reveals they've already created financial consequences from poor spending but haven't changed behavior. If past consequences haven't modified her habits, future consequences won't either. Notice whether she expects you to fund her spending or just accept it. If she makes jokes about needing someone to support her shopping habit or playfully suggests you should buy her things, she's communicating that your financial role will be providing for her wants. Even if framed as a joke, she's testing whether you'll accept this dynamic. Why this is dangerous? This joke is dangerous because financial incompatibility destroys relationships. When she's openly telling you she has spending problems, she's warning that money will be a constant source of conflict. Whether you'll be expected to fund her spending or just tolerate financial instability, neither option creates a healthy partnership foundation. Joke 4. I'm such a stalker, or social media investigation jokes. When she jokes about looking up all your social media profiles, finding your old photos, checking your friends list, or knowing things about you that you haven't told her yet, most men interpret this as flattering interest or harmless modern dating behavior. It's actually revealing boundary issues, possessive tendencies, and obsessive patterns that will escalate into controlling, jealous behavior in a relationship. What this actually reveals? This reveals she doesn't respect boundaries between appropriate interest and invasive investigation. Women who joke about being stalkers or extensively researching you before meeting are telling you they have obsessive tendencies and will monitor your online presence, investigate your connections, and feel entitled to information you haven't voluntarily shared. This escalates into checking your phone, questioning your whereabouts, and interrogating you about other women. Notice how extensive her pre-date investigation was. If she mentions finding photos from years ago, knowing about your high school activities, or having information about your family members, she spent hours digging through your digital history. This level of investigation before even meeting reveals obsessive tendencies and inability to let natural discovery happen through conversation. Watch whether she frames this as normal behavior or acknowledges it's excessive. If she presents extensive social media stalking as just what everyone does, she's normalized invasive behavior and doesn't see boundaries around digital privacy. If she acknowledges it's a bit much but laughs it off, she knows it's excessive but doesn't view it as problematic enough to stop. Pay attention to what specific information she reveals knowing. If she mentions details about other women in your photos, past relationship indicators, or information from years ago, she's not just casually interested. She's investigating threats, evaluating competition, and gathering ammunition for future jealousy or accusations about your past. Observe whether she seems to expect praise for her investigation skills or recognition that it's concerning. Some women joke about being good investigators or detectives, proud of their ability to find information, which reveals they view boundary violation as a skill rather than a problem. They'll continue invading privacy because they see it as clever rather than controlling. Notice if she's already formed opinions about people in your life based on online profiles. If she makes comments or judgments about your friends, family, or connections based solely on social media investigation, she's showing you she'll create narratives about people in your life without meeting them. This predicts future conflict about who you spend time with based on her assumptions. Why this is dangerous? This joke is dangerous because it's an early indicator of controlling, jealous, and possessive patterns that will intensify as the relationship progresses. Women who violate boundaries before meeting you will violate bigger boundaries once they feel entitled to access all areas of your life. The stalking joke is a preview of constant monitoring, questioning, and invasion of privacy disguised as concern or interest. Joke 5. I'm not like other girls, with a laugh. When she makes jokes about not being like other women. I'm not like most girls. I'm not your typical woman. I'm different from other females. Most men hear this as her being unique, low maintenance, or special. It's actually revealing internalized misogyny, competitive attitudes toward other women, and a need to position herself as superior by putting down her own gender. What this actually reveals. This reveals she believes the way to stand out is by distancing herself from other women, rather than having genuine, unique qualities worth celebrating. Women who joke about not being like other girls are showing you they view other women as competition rather than community, and they'll eventually display the exact behaviors they claim to be above because they're not actually different. They're just performing difference. Notice what specific traits she claims make her different. If she jokes about not being dramatic like other women, she's absolutely going to be dramatic. If she says she's not high maintenance, unlike most girls, she'll be high maintenance. If she claims she's not emotional, like typical women, she'll be emotionally volatile. The traits she distances herself from are usually the ones she's insecure about possessing. Watch how she describes other girls when making this joke. If there's contempt, dismissiveness, or judgment toward women generally, she doesn't have healthy relationships with other women and views female relationships as competitive rather than supportive. Women who can't maintain female friendships often lack the emotional skills necessary for healthy romantic relationships too. Pay attention to whether her difference is defined by male validation. If she's different because she likes sports, drinks certain drinks, or engages in traditionally male activities, she's defining herself through male approval rather than genuine interests. This predicts she'll constantly seek validation through male attention and view other women as threats competing for that attention. Observe if she has meaningful female friendships she mentions positively. Women who genuinely have good female relationships don't need to distance themselves from other women to seem special. If she doesn't mention close female friends or speaks about female relationships dismissively, she struggles to connect with women, which is a significant warning sign. Notice whether this joke comes with examples or stays vague. If she provides specific examples of how she's different that are just normal interests or traits, she's desperately trying to seem special without actually having unique qualities. If she leaves it vague, she's hoping you'll project whatever ideal woman you want onto her blank canvas. Why this is dangerous. This joke is dangerous because women who position themselves against other women bring toxic competition, jealousy, and insecurity into relationships. They'll be threatened by any woman in your life. They'll eventually display all the traits they claim to be above, and they lack the self-awareness to realize that putting down other women doesn't make them appealing. It makes them insecure. Joke 6. I need constant attention or similar neediness jokes. When she jokes about needing lots of attention, being clingy, requiring constant communication, or being high maintenance, most men laugh, thinking she's exaggerating or being playfully honest. It's actually a direct warning that she has deep insecurity requiring constant validation, will demand excessive time and energy, and will create drama when her attention needs aren't met. What this actually reveals? This reveals she knows she's emotionally needy, but has decided this is your responsibility to manage, rather than something she should work on through therapy or personal development. Women who joke about needing constant attention are telling you that you'll be responsible for constantly proving your interest, availability, and commitment through time-consuming reassurance that never actually satisfies the underlying insecurity. Notice how she frames the neediness. If she presents it as something you'll need to accept, she's already decided this is your burden to carry rather than her issue to address. If she frames it as a warning, she's at least acknowledging it might be difficult, though she's still not taking responsibility for changing it by presenting it as unchangeable personality. Watch whether she seems to expect you'll enjoy meeting her attention needs. Some women present neediness as an opportunity for you to be the hero who satisfies her validation requirements. This framing manipulates you into viewing exhausting emotional labor as romantic devotion rather than recognizing it as unsustainable and unhealthy. Pay attention to what specific attention she jokes about requiring. If it's constant texting, she'll demand immediate responses and create conflict about response times. If it's frequent reassurance about the relationship, she has anxiety that will require exhausting emotional management. If it's posted couple content, she needs external validation of the relationship rather than internal security in it. Observe whether she has friends or activities that provide attention beyond romantic relationships. Women who need constant attention from partners usually have limited friendships, few hobbies, and minimal independent sources of fulfillment. This means you become responsible for being her entire emotional support system, entertainment source, and validation provider. Notice if she jokes about what happens when attention needs aren't met. Some women will laugh about getting upset, acting out, or being difficult when they feel ignored. These jokes are warnings about how she'll behave when you're busy with work, spending time with friends, or simply need space. The joke reveals the punishment you'll face for having boundaries. Why this is dangerous? This joke is dangerous because constant attention needs are exhausting and unsustainable. Relationships with chronically needy partners become second jobs where you're constantly managing their insecurity rather than building genuine partnership. The joke tells you that her emotional regulation will be your responsibility, which leads to burnout and resentment,